This is Valley News Live at 4.
We begin with our top story. Police are calling it one of the most complex crime scenes they have ever investigated. 3 people are dead and 2 others are injured after a shooting in St. Paul. Police say they're not sure if the shooter was one of the 5 victims. The Ramsey County Medical Examiner's Office has identified the deceased people as a 33-year-old woman, a 42-year-old man, and a 44-year-old woman. And they were no strangers. They responded to the residency over the last 12 months 17 times.
There's been a various array of calls to this house. I think there's 17 calls in the past year to the address. Everything from disorderly conduct to domestic crimes to aggravated assault. So there's been a wide variety.
Forensic teams are still processing the scene in the hopes to find physical evidence to tell the story of what led to the murders. And as today is the last day of the Minnesota State Fair, police are doubling down on the amount of officers after a shooting over the weekend left 1 person injured. Police say 1 person was shot in the leg Saturday night near the entrance to the Midway, and the gunman is still on the loose. Police say the victim was targeted by the shooter and was not a bystander. About a dozen officers were within 20 feet of the shooting. Well, now we want to get a look at your forecast with Chief Meteorologist Hutch. Hutch, what are you looking at right now?
Well, I'll tell you what, those flags tell me we're looking at some wind out there, so have that hairspray or a hat handy and then hold on to that hat because the gusts are, well, enough to definitely be noticeable. They're from the south, and that's allowed temperatures to stay on the warm side, and there's a little bit of a haze today, but another 3rd night in a row of the Northern Lights. Kelsey, thanks so much again for uploading your video here. You can see all of these by logging on to our website at valleynewslive.com. We've been sharing them on our Valley News Live weather app as well, so make sure you download that, search VNL Weather in the App Store today. Check it out. Hettinger, 99 degrees. It was just 100 there. 75 in Baudette, 75 in Detroit Lakes, and we're in the low 80s right now in both Grand Forks and in Fargo. Now, those winds are pretty gusty, over 30 miles per hour at times, and that's going to persist into the evening hours. Clear skies for most, a few clouds drifting through, and here's why it's important. Because overnight, once again, for the 4th night in a row, a chance for those northern lights, and it could be a pretty good chance, particularly in our northern counties. Temperatures sneaking down after sunset through the 70s, on our way into the 60s for those overnight hours. I'll have details in your hour-by-hour forecast, but it does look like the best viewing will likely be a little later than last night, which happened at sunset. I'm expecting more towards the midnight hour. I'll have details in your hour-by-hour forecast and what you can expect for your back to the grind forecast for tomorrow. Details in a few minutes.
All right, Hodge, thank you so much. Looking forward to it. A federal judge has granted a request by former President Donald Trump's legal team regarding documents seized by the FBI from his Florida home last month. Now, the judge also temporarily halted the Justice Department's use of the records for investigative purposes. This decision comes despite objections by the Justice Department. The appointment is likely to slow the pace of the department's investigation into the presence of top secret information at Mar-a-Lago. Trump's lawyers had argued that a special master, usually an outside lawyer or former judge, was necessary to ensure an independent review of records taken during that August 8th search. Memorial services are set for 2 of 4 victims of a murder-suicide in North Dakota. The funeral for Justin and Richard Bracken is tomorrow at 10:30 at Leeds Lutheran Church. Visitation is 1 hour before the funeral at the church. The funeral will be streamed through the Nelson Funeral Home Facebook page. The other victims are Douglas Dulmage of Leeds and Robert Bracken of Candu. Arrangements for them have not been announced. The 4 men were found dead last Monday in a wheat field in Towner County, but police have not yet said who the shooter was. A former coach with the Valley City School District is facing child sex charges. 64-year-old Davey Zink is accused of solicitation and trying to lure minors by computer. Court documents allege the incident happened in October of 2019 when he was employed as a part-time coach with the district. Zink makes his first court appearance tomorrow. The Grand Forks Sheriff's Office needs your help in locating a 15-year-old girl from Manville. Kaylee Meadows has been missing from Manville since August 29th, and at this time her clothing description is unknown. She is believed to be in Grand Forks and possibly with friends. Kaylee does not have a phone or vehicle. If you know Kaylee's whereabouts or happen to see her, please call your local law enforcement agency, the Sheriff's Office, at 701-780-8280 or 911. A Moorhead man is seriously hurt after crashing his car on I-29 near the Tri-Level interchange with I-94. This happened around 2 yesterday afternoon when the driver hit the center concrete median. The North Dakota Highway Patrol says the victim was not wearing a seatbelt, and this is the second crash near the Tri-Level in as many days. A West Fargo man died in the same area Saturday after his vehicle hit a concrete support pillar on I-29, and this video shows the severe front end damage to his car. The victim has been identified as 33-year-old Zachary Noble. Well, due to tomorrow's forecast heat, all elementary and middle school intramural and athletic activities for Grand Forks schools will be canceled. Now, school officials say that they will monitor the forecast closely and will notify families directly of any schedule changes for the remaining school days this week. Schools that will be dismissed by noon tomorrow are Lewis and Clark, Nathan Twining, Valley Viking, and Wilder schools. They will all be again done at noon tomorrow. And over in South Fargo, you'll have to find a new place for a sweet treat if you went to the Osgood Dairy Queen. The Dairy Queen at the corner of 45th Street and 40th Avenue South in Fargo has closed. A sign on the door says that the location is closed and owners were unable to come to a reasonable lease agreement with the landlord of the property, and they cannot afford rent. Well, one of the activities people like to do this time of year is to pick apples, but for some farms in Minnesota, it'll be slim pickings. Rick Julian operates the Lake Ida Apple Farm in Minnesota and says this year he has been facing a difficult growing season. Some trees are bare, which is disappointing to some people who come to pick, and heavy rain and a cold spring are mostly to blame for farmers now struggling at harvest time.
Normally this time of year we would have U-pick going for 3 weeks. We had one weekend and stuff was picked out.
The Julians are hoping for better weather conditions next year.